why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, appreciate everybody making some time for us today. My name is Matt Greyerbiehl. I'm a sales engineer here with SalesPad. What I'll do today is kind of just do a brief introduction to our company, what we do, where we fit into the GP space, and then we'll kind of go through step by step some of the different products that we have available, and then we'll dive headfirst into a demo session. Today's demo session I've kind of geared as a end-to-end, so from the time an order goes in to the time it leaves your facility, and we'll cover all of the processes in between. So I'll just run through this deck to kind of do a brief introduction, and then we'll go right into the demo session. So as I mentioned, my name is Matt Greyerbiehl. I'm a sales engineer here with SalesPad. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years, and prior to that, I spent roughly 14 years in the manufacturing space, so a lot of hands-on application experience. So who we are, SalesPad was founded in 2003, so we've been around for a little over 14 years. We're based out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's where our headquarters is. But we also have outside sales reps that kind of cover the entire country as well as the world. We have some global customers as well. SalesPad was really born in a true distribution environment. So both of our owners, kind of the story behind SalesPad, one of our owners runs and continues to run today a distribution company that sells edge banding for office furniture. And he was using and is continuing to use Dynamics GP, but back then he kind of grew a little bit frustrated with some of the limitations on the operations side. So, you know, visibility of sales documents as they progress through the fulfillment process, insights into inventory availability, things like that. So he developed a number of workarounds, manual workarounds, such as a color-coded clipboard system to indicate which stage the order was in relative to the fulfillment process. He kind of grew a little bit tired of that and ended up contacting his friend, who is one of our other owners, who happened to be a developer, and together they kind of put together this system called SalesPad, which is really, you know, customer order workflow inventory management to integrate to the Dynamics GP platform. So fast forward 14 years later, we've kind of evolved to not only that original desktop product for order management, but we also have WMS solutions for the warehouse, barcoding. We have a shipping integration. We have payment integrations, a host of products that we'll kind of run through here next. So just kind of hitting on some of our core products. We'll spend a lot of time talking today about SalesPad Desktop. So SalesPad Desktop is really kind of the main platform, and this is where we're going to manage customers, look up inventory, enter new orders, push those orders through the fulfillment process, and then on out the door. So we'll spend a lot of time in this product. We also have a data collection module, this is our WMS product, and I really like to kind of lump the different transactions that you can do into 3 separate buckets on data collection. So for outbound fulfillment, we support that. That's kind of the main outbound side transaction that we do. And then on the inbound side, we do receipts against purchase orders. And then we have a third type of transaction, which is really kind of a large, broad bucket, which is all the inventory management related functions like site-to-site transfers, bin-to-bin transfers, inventory adjustments. We support cycle counting, so if you generate cycle count schedules within GP and you want to execute those counts on a handheld device, we support that. As far as the hardware integration that goes with our data collection product, you have a couple different options. So you can run a Windows-based device with like a Motorola, or you can go the iOS route and run iPads, iPods, iPhones even. And typically clients that run the iOS will also run those in conjunction with a Honeywell sled. Honeywell makes a Captivo sled that works very well with the iPods to integrate not only the scanning functionality, but also to ruggedize the device for a more sort of warehouse industrial environment. We also have a product called SalesPad Mobile, which is essentially an extension of the customer management and sales order entry tool onto mobile devices. So if you have outside sales reps, if you have a scenario where you have outside sales reps that need to be able to quickly look up customers, see the order history for that customer, maybe take a CRM type note, regarding a conversation they had on site with the customer. They can also enter quotes, orders, release those to the workflow, capture signatures if you need an approval signature on site. So we also have this mobile product as well. The last product we'll talk about, and then we've got some other kind of ancillary products that we'll get into. Ship Center. This is our new shipping integration that is a true standalone shipping tool. And what this will allow you to do is essentially process the shipments for parcel type deliveries directly from within SalesPad. So if you have UPS, FedEx, USPS, Purolator, or GSO, those are the parcel carriers that we support. You can go ahead and process those shipments, generate the labels, create the tracking numbers that then write back to the sales document, and automate delivery notifications to your customers. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit today as well. So again, getting into some of the smaller additional offerings. We have a web portal, B2B web portal that is available for both internal as well as external users. And what I mean by that is on the external user side, we'll kind of start there. If you want to grant access to your customers to be able to do some light account management functions and enter their own orders, we have a web portal that will allow you to do that. When they log in, they essentially see what is their customer card, where they can update addresses, look at previous orders, copy those to new orders, enter new orders, that sort of thing. And then on the internal user side, if you need to grant access to one of your employees and you want to give them kind of browser-based access out in the field, we have an internal user profile that you can access to look up all customers that you have access to, the inventory availability. You can look up all the historical sales documents, and so on and so forth. It's kind of a scaled back version of the desktop product we'll see today, meant for those users that are going to be out in the field and just need a quick browser-based access tool. Now, this next product here, the SPS connector, we've actually recently come out with a connector for clients that have EDI requirements. So one of the big benefits of our connector is that it will translate all of the different retail standards for all of the different trade partners the client has and translate those into one retail standard and convert those to orders within SalesPad. Now keep in mind, when an order goes into SalesPad, we're talking to the same database as GP, so that order is also immediately available in GP as well. So this connector will convert all of your inbound 850 purchase orders to sales documents, where you can then leverage the powerful fulfillment and workflow tools that you'll see today in SalesPad to execute the fulfillment. Another big advantage of the SPS connector is that we do have plugins that can be automatically triggered through workflow to transmit your outbound documents. So for example, as you're progressing that inbound EDI order through your fulfillment process, if you need to send a 855 PO acknowledgement back to your trade partner, rather than going in and manually doing that and sending that and submitting that, that will just become a byproduct of the fulfillment process. We'll go ahead and trigger that automatically through workflow. Same thing with the 856 outbound ASN, as well as the outbound 810 invoice. So when you convert those orders to invoice, if you need to transmit that outbound invoice document back to your trade partner, we can support that as well. Last product on this slide here, the payments. This is a nice feature that we've added into the core desktop product. We have worked and teamed up with Notice Technologies, and we've actually deployed their PayFabric product within our desktop application. And what this allows you to do is kind of achieve the best of both worlds in terms of credit card processing. On the one hand, you have credit cards that you can set up on a customer wallet and assign those default status so that you can go ahead and easily process payments for customers that pay via credit card. But on the other hand, while it looks like that card information is stored within our application, it's actually pulling through a web view from the PayFabric cloud service. And so what that allows you to do is avoid a lot of the costs and time associated with being PCI compliant. We push that PCI compliance out to the cloud application because you're effectively not storing cards on-prem anymore with this tool. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we can kind of see that in action today. A couple other things, Outlook add-in. This is a nice feature that we've rolled into the standard desktop product, and what this allows you to do is integrate your Outlook account with what we call the Interactions tab in SalesPad. And we'll look at the Interactions tab today on the demo, and what that does is it effectively centralizes all of your communication for that customer into one tab that you can then query later on. And that tab or that query view integrates with your Outlook account to pull all of those emails in based on a match of the customer email address, or the contact email address, excuse me. So one of the big benefits of that is, if you have turnover in the organization or maybe an account changes hands, you don't lose all of that that intelligence that has accumulated over the years in someone else's inbox. It's all pulled into one centralized location. We also have another shipping product called Ship2, which is kind of a pared back version of Ship Center. Ship2 is kind of a middleware type application where you would still have to have UPS World Ship or FedEx Ship Manager running in the background. It's just creating the integration from the sales document to those applications, so you're not rekeying information. It's kind of like I said, a pared back shipping solution that we offer. And then the last thing I'll mention, Dispatch is a new tool we've provided, and this is an add-on module. This is perfect if you have a client that has a fleet management scenario where they actually do their own delivery in their own fleet trucks, and they need to manage the schedule of those fleet trucks and schedule orders against that. So what this will allow you to do is take orders, schedule them with vehicles, or schedule them with drivers, and as you do those scheduling activities, it will automatically build out a route ticket on the back end with all of those stops and all of those sales documents that are scheduled to be delivered at each one of those stop locations. The dispatch module actually extends into the mobile sales application as well, and it will allow you to view that route from a mobile device and not only check in and check out, and when you check in and check out, by the way, it will timestamp it so you can actually audit the driver's check in and check out. It will also allow you to access the sales document that you're delivering at that location, as well as capture a signature from the customer to verify that delivery has been made. So that's kind of another, again, that's an add-on module that's available, but just a new feature that we've recently added. So again, getting back to the demo agenda, we're really going to focus on kind of an end-to-end scenario. So looking up a customer, some of the management activity that goes behind the scenes for that customer, entering an order, and then pushing that through our workflow to do the fulfillment on it. We'll dive a little bit into the data collection module to do the fulfillment, and then once that's complete, we'll see how that document auto forwards to the shipping queue where we can pick it up in Ship Center to process out that parcel shipment. This is just our contact information there, and with that, I'll go ahead and get out of the PowerPoint here, and we'll go ahead and get into the demo. So what we're looking at here, this is the SalesPad desktop module, and before I begin, I want to make a quick note about security. So this is kind of a very useful feature, not only for kind of protecting what users can see, manipulate, change, but it's also a great tool for paring back certain screens to make them very job specific for a certain user. So as I go through this session, my demo environment is set up as a power user, so I've got all the tabs, all of the different navigation points turned on, but keep in mind that through this security editor here, we can actually pare back every screen, almost every tab, every piece of data can be pared back to make it very job specific for each user. So I always like to mention that, and that can be assigned at a group level or at an individual level. So now, kind of getting into SalesPad here, what we're looking at is the customer search grid, and I'll spend a little bit of time talking about this because the grid functionality that you'll see here is something that persists throughout SalesPad. So any of our lists, whether they're items, vendors, purchase orders, sales documents, they're all going to be presented in this grid view. And the grids have several powerful search features built in to allow you to quickly drill down to a specific record or a specific subset of records, even if you only have partial information, and I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. So let's say I've got all my customers pulled up here, you can see, and I don't know the full customer name, but I know it has the word electric in it. I can type in electric in this customer search box here, and this is a wildcard search, so this will return any customer record that has the word electric in it. So you can see I got American Electrical Contractor, Aaron Fitz Electrical, ABC Electric, and the electric company. So wildcard searches, you can also layer those on top of one another. So let's say I know in addition to the word electric, it's in the 517 area code. I can plug that in, and now I've gotten down to a specific record by having partial information about the customer's name as well as a area code for the phone number. So we also, in addition to these wildcard search features at the top, we also have what we call the auto filter row, which is this row right above all of the columns, and this can be used as a quick filter as well. So if we wanted to go to the address and we know it's 123 Main Street, and we also happen to know it's in the state of Washington, we can layer these auto filter row columns on top of one another to get down to a specific customer record. Now, as I mentioned, this functionality persists throughout SalesPad, so anytime you see a list view or an inquiry, these grid functions are going to be available for you. Now, another big thing that we do within SalesPad is we have unlimited user-defined fields, and this really kind of speaks to a lot of the flexibility that SalesPad offers. So if you have specific unique attributes that are relevant to your business that you can't track in the standalone GP product, we're going to give you the ability to have all of those additional user fields to track that information. And these user fields can be images, they can be check boxes, they can be text boxes, they can be true, false, whatever. We have several different options for how you structure these. And then we give you access to those user-defined fields by right-clicking on any of the column headers on any one of the grids and selecting column chooser, and this will load up the user fields as well as standard fields that you may not have displayed here in this column chooser view. And then if you want to add those into the column to make that additional search criteria available, you can do that by simply dropping and dragging that information in, and then you can go ahead and filter down by that new column you've pulled in. So if I wanted to, in this case I brought in the sales rep name, I can filter down, and now I'm looking at just Greg's customers that he's been assigned. If you want to get rid of these fields anytime, you can just drop and drag them off. These can also be shuffled around. So if you want address over in that position, customer name next, you can do that. Any changes that you make are just specific to that user. They don't affect the global layout. And then we also have some additional options here to export this to Excel, print it, or restore defaults if you've kind of added a bunch of columns and you want to pare that back. So I'll go ahead and get into a customer card now and kind of go through the customer card. So first thing you'll notice, we have pop-up notes. So if you have something that you want to have prompted for the CSRs or inside sales staff, you can have that pop up on a note here. The customer card kind of introduces another concept in SalesPad where we try to bring an enormous amount of information to the surface and present it in one centralized location, so you don't have to jump from one screen to the next to get, you know, the information you're looking for. And nowhere is that more evident than on the customer card. And I'll kind of dissect this into 3 sections so we can see what we're looking at here. So the first section here, the customer properties. This is kind of high-level information, so the customer name, price level, payment terms. Just like the grid could be customized, so can the cards within SalesPad. So if you right-click, you can bring up your customization column chooser, and you can drop and drag those additional elements into the card as well. So this can also be customized. Another thing that we do in SalesPad is we have these great tooltips. So if you hover over, for example, the customer name, you can quickly see a sales summary of the last 4 years. So what their revenue, what their cost, margin, freight revenue and freight cost was. And this really gives you the ability to kind of quickly at a glance get a quick pulse on the customer. How active have they been? The second part of the customer card is this window over here in the upper right. And what you're seeing here is a grid of all of the open sales documents for this customer. So this could be a quote that we haven't converted to an order that hasn't converted to an invoice that hasn't been posted. So anything that's not of historical, that's not historical will be visible through this open sales doc view. And again, just like that customer grid, I can filter this down by several different pieces of criteria. So if I know the doc I'm looking for is an invoice, and let's say I know the date was 8/25, I can plug in a filter to just look at invoice type documents, and then my date filter to get down to that specific record. And then these document numbers are all hyperlinked, so I can jump back and see the specific line item detail of that invoice. Another thing I want to point out is all of these elements open on this tabbed view. So if you have several different screens open and you need to kind of multitask between them, we make that very simple. So we don't have kind of those cascading windows where you can have one open at a time and you have to minimize. We can basically toggle back and forth with this layout that we have. So now the third part of the customer card is kind of divided by this row of tabs at the bottom. And again, keep in mind I'm set up as a power user, so I have all of these different features turned on. I'll just hit on a couple of the real important ones here. So contact addresses, you can have obviously multiple ship tos, any of the different contact addresses associated with this customer you can have built out here at the bottom. AR, we can go into AR and see the different aging buckets and where they stand relative to that, average days to pay. We also have a balance inquiry button that we can drill into to see all of the specific invoices that are driving that total. We also have an item history, and this will allow you to basically do a quick inquiry into the items that they've purchased. It's based on a number of months that you're looking at. So right now I've got 12 months loaded in. You can also pick what documents you want to include in this inquiry, so quotes, orders, invoices, returns. In this case, I've just got invoices turned on. And then if I want to filter down to a specific item, I can come down to my auto filter row, and that will filter down this query to just that particular item. So in a matter of seconds, I was able to find out I've sold 55 of this particular audio system to this client in the last 12 months. Sales graph, we can graph sales information and make this easy to export to Excel or print directly from the customer record. Interactions, I mentioned this earlier, I just want to talk about this tab a little bit. So what you're seeing here is essentially every piece of communication that's occurred with this client and the organization. It all pulls into this grid view where you can easily query this information to find a specific contact that you may have had with this client. So let's say, for example, I want to look at my emails that were related to pricing. I can plug in a filter to filter my interaction type by email, and then my subject line to pricing. And there you can see I've got my emails that were sent out related to pricing. And if I want to open that up and view that email, you can see it pulls the body of the email in to my interaction notes section. I can also do things like attach documents to it. So if I want to attach a price sheet or something like that for a follow-up call, I can do that. We also have the ability to set up new tasks to reach out to customers. So if we wanted to do a sales call, for example, I can set up a new task, pick the user I want to reach out to, grab the type. You can categorize types. I can pick a time I want this to occur at, a date. And then once I have this set up, this will actually pull out to my Outlook calendar. It will also appear on an internal calendar we call SalesPad Today. And I'll just briefly show what that looks like. So under our application, we have a SalesPad Today calendar, and this can be viewed in a month, week, work week, or a daily view, and it shows all the tasks that you have. Now I'm looking at my specific calendar. However, if you're an admin within SalesPad and you want to look at all of the different users' calendars, you can load those up and kind of at an admin level manage what your sales team is working on for that particular day. So now with the email Outlook add-in, this will also push those back out to your Outlook calendar, of course, as well. I guess the last thing I'll mention before we get into order entry. So I briefly touched on the payment integration in the slide deck, and this is what the wallet looks like within SalesPad. So you can set up a card or multiple cards for a client, and then mark them as default if this is the primary card the customer wants to use. And again, while this looks like this is pulling within our application, this is actually pulling from that third-party cloud platform to bring this information into SalesPad. So again, you're not storing these cards on-prem anymore. It's pulling in from the third-party application, so it really limits your PCI requirements on your end. That kind of defers back to this third-party PayFabric application. So with that, we'll transition into order entry and the fulfillment, and we'll process a shipment. So in SalesPad, the order entry starts from the customer card. You can see I've got my quote, my order, my invoice, my return. Keep in mind, if you have multiple doc IDs, we'll give you access to those in SalesPad. These can also be paired back through security. So if you have just maybe a handful or one or two doc IDs that you want to give a particular user access to, you can pair back those doc IDs. So we'll go ahead and create an order, and when we do that, it's going to launch a new order entry screen. It will pull the customer's property information over. Quick note here, if you want to store account number and account option, if a client needs to do third-party billing, we can set up user-defined fields to capture that and actually pass that through to Ship Center, and I'll kind of explain that in just a moment when we get to the shipping portion. So adding new line items, very simple. Just click on a new line item, or we also can do Alt-N. We have shortcut keys. And when you plug in an item SKU, if you get a direct match, perfect. It will pull the description in, add the price, the extended price, so on and so forth. If you get a partial match and you tab off, it will automatically launch what we call the inventory lookup screen. And this is a great tool not only for finding an item by using all of these additional search features, but it will also allow you to gain tremendous insight into the inventory availability. So starting first with the search features, you can see that I've got 100 plugged into my item search box, and I have the box marked match beginning. So what this is doing is looking through my inventory list for all items that start with 100. But let's say, in addition to knowing the item starts with 100, I knew it was a button head screw that I was looking for. I can come down to this description field here and plug in button, and it will pull back the result for an item that starts with 100 and contains the word button somewhere in the description. So again, you don't have to have complete information about an item SKU. You can have partial information and use these layered filters to kind of drill down to the SKU you're looking for. Now, once you have the item identified and you highlight it, you'll see all of this information begin to kind of turn on at the bottom here. So I can see all of the different sites that I have stock available at. I can see my allocated, backordered, available totals. If I'm in a multi-bin environment, you can see I also have the ability to look at my specific bins, what's on hand and allocated. This is actually an additional query. So if you drill into your allocated figure, an additional window will open up that has all of your inventory allocations with the specific sales orders that are going to consume those. So really just tremendous insight into the inventory availability. We can also drill into things like properties, and property cards can be built out with a lot of additional information. So if you want images, things like that, to just be a nice visual reference for inside sales teams or CSRs, we can build out user content on those item cards. And then once you have that item, again, to add it, we're just going to go ahead and select that and pull that into the document, and that will populate with the price and everything. Now, if we are back ordered on an item, and I'll just go back into my query view here, and let's do, I happen to know this one's back ordered. So if I have a back ordered item, it will pull into the sales document and acknowledge that it's back ordered by this orange indication line here. So this will just be a nice visual representation that that's actually back ordered. Lets the user know we got to get a PO cut for that. So just wanted to kind of point that out as well. Now, once we have a sales order complete, we can go ahead and save that. If we want to do some kind of payment capture at this time, we can do that with our PayFabric integration. So if we click on this payment total box, that will open up the PayFabric tab. We can run a new authorization or a new charge, and that will open up our transaction processing screen. It will load up the default wallet. If we want to go ahead and use that standard card, we can do that and process the transaction. This will run an authorization, indicate whether it was approved or not, and load that transaction type with confirmation ID onto that payment view there. It will also indicate what amount has been authorized versus what amount has been captured as a payment on the document. So there you can see that has updated. So now I'm going to go ahead and mark this last line item there as backordered because I want to show some of the workflow tools. So now that we have an order in, we've captured the authorization, now we can release this to workflow to really kind of kick off the fulfillment process. And what workflow within SalesPad effectively allows you to do is map out your fulfillment process in different stages and then push those sales orders through each one of those stages, and as it progresses through the stages, you have total visibility of that movement. So at any given time, you know where every order is relative to being fulfilled. It also kind of goes a long way for raising accountability within the organization because typically different stages are assigned to different stakeholders or different owners within the organization, so you know exactly who's responsible for taking the next action on that document. Another thing that we can do is we can automate notifications, emails, print jobs, anything that you might be doing manually now on the back end. We can fully automate that through workflow. Simply by progressing an order from one stage to the next, we can trigger certain rules and print jobs and notifications on the back end. So just briefly kind of going through this. So as I release this document, since I had a backordered item, one of the workflow rules in my workflow here is to evaluate for back orders, and if there is one found, the system will suggest a split. So that's what you can see here. I've got a recommendation to split this document to a .1 and a .2. So if I want to go ahead and approve that, it will move the item I don't have to a sub-document and push that to a backorder queue, and it'll move the items I do have to a picking queue because I have stock of them. So if I want to go ahead and approve that, I'll just hit OK, and I'll get a confirmation in just a second here that the first document for the items I do have moved to picking. The second document that moved the item I didn't have to was moved to the backorder queue. So that's order 11033.1 and 11033.2. So I'll hit OK on that. And now to pick up visualization of that, we'll go to a tool called Sales Monitor. And Sales Monitor effectively displays all of the different stages in your workflow. And this is just a very generic example. Users have total control over how many queues there are, what are the rules that are evaluated from one move, from the movement from one queue to another, how many there are, what they're called, total control over this. This is just kind of a generic example. But what you're seeing is all of the different stages listed out. I can see how many orders are in each one of those stages. I can also see a total dollar value that those documents represent at each one of those stages. So again, getting back to accountability, for example, I know 39 orders are in my picking queue, so I know precisely what the warehouse is working on at this moment. So now over here on the right, this is where we have the detailed view of all of those different stages. So as I scroll through this, we'll see those different stages kind of highlighted with these bars here. So these are the documents that are awaiting a PO. This is awaiting a vendor confirmation. This is my backordered queue. And if I go in, I can see the 11033.2, that order that I just created that split, is now in my backordered queue for that item that I was missing. Likewise, if I go to my picking queue here, 11033.1 is in the picking queue for the items that I, in fact, did have stock of. So you can see those are the two items that I did have stock of. So now, if I wanted to go ahead and do the picking, I'm going to transition to our product called data collection next, and kind of show you what that activity would look like. So I'm going to bring up my mobile device and share this with my screen. And we should see this pop up in just a second. So this is our data collection module for the WMS type functions. I'm using an iPod today with a Captivo sled, and I'm actually just reflecting that onto my screen. So you can see we've got all of the different transaction types there that you can go into. I'm going to kind of focus on picking today with the time we have allotted. So if I go into picking, we have the ability to go ahead and scan your document number into this field here, or we can also go into a list view if you want to go truly paperless. And this list view can integrate to a specific batch within your workflow queue. And in my case, I have this list view pointed at my picking queue, so all of the documents loaded onto my mobile device are the same documents you're seeing in the SalesPad desktop. So 11033.1, for example, that order I just created, since that's in the picking queue, it immediately showed up on my handheld device to go ahead and pick. Now, previously I created order 11032 and I have a barcoded pick ticket in front of me. I can actually scan that as well, just to kind of show you. I can scan the document number, and once that document number is pulled in, I can then toggle over and view the items that need to be picked off of it, or I can also simply scan those items as well. So I can scan that item in. That will pull the item in, the description, and then I can increment my quantity. I can do this by hitting the plus or minus or moving the cursor to that 0 and just plugging in the quantity. I'll just use the plus or minus buttons. Now we also have multi-bin enabled, so if I wanted to pick from a specific bin, I can do that, and we have some controls that you can put in place if you want to limit how many bins are available to pick from. So if you have kind of forward picking locations that you want to kind of push the people that are doing the picking activity in the warehouse to, you can kind of limit the available bins to pull from. So just wanted to make a quick note on that. So once you have the quantity, the bin you're pulling from, item number in there, I can submit that. And then I can go on to my next item. Again, I can scan it, or I can go off this list view. Since I've already brought in that 10002, you can see that that's fully picked. So I'll go ahead and grab this other item here, 10001. I'll go ahead and put my quantity in, select my bin, and submit that. Now, once this is submitted, you'll see that we get a message the document is fully picked. Now, keep in mind this was order number 11032. In addition to the mobile devices being integrated to the workflow by giving you visibility of the documents that are available to pick, upon completion of that picking activity, it will also forward that document automatically to the next stage. And in my case, once it's done being picked, it moves it to the shipping queue. So if I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to refresh my sales monitor, we should see 11032 move down into the shipping queue. So here's my shipping queue. If I scroll down to the bottom, there's 11032 is now in the shipping queue. So just by virtue of completing the fulfillment and the pick on the mobile device, it automatically forwarded it to the next stage. Now, we also do an audit log on the sales document. So as that activity is performed in the warehouse, you can see all of those activities stamped on the sales document under the audit tab with the user that did that activity, the date and time it was done at, and a description of what was done. So you can see I fulfilled one of this particular item from the general stock bin in the data collection module, and then I fulfilled one of this particular item from the data collection module from this bin, and then upon completion of that, DC forwarded the document from picking to shipping. So total transparency on the activity that's performed in the warehouse to the document as it progresses through that workflow. So now that it's in the shipping queue, we have the ability to view that document from our tool called Ship Center. So Ship Center can, just like data collection, can be pointed at a specific batch within SalesPad. So as those orders progress through and hit the shipping batch, I have this pointed at the shipping batch, it will automatically recognize that order and allow me to complete the shipment on it. So there you can see order number 11032 that I processed on the handheld is now in shipping, so it's available for me to go ahead and complete the shipment on. Now, if you recall on the sales document, I mentioned that we can have an account number for that customer stored as well as an account option notated. This is what I meant. So you can actually have that map all the way through the process from the customer card to the final shipment screen. So if you do have customers that prefer to use their own account, you can just store that on the customer record and have that automatically pull into the shipment editing screen. I'm actually going to clear this off because that's just kind of a dummy number. I'm going to use my own account that I have kind of a sandbox account set up with UPS to actually process this order. So now that I have that set, I've got a couple options for processing this parcel. I can use a USB integrated scale and throw this parcel on a scale capture weight and then finish the shipment, or I can use our pack-out process, which allows me to select a predetermined package size, and you can set this schedule of corrugated or box types up ahead of time, and it will display here. This is also compatible with touch screens, so if you want to deploy touch screens in the shipping environment, you can do that. I'll go ahead and select the box. It loads in the padded weight for that box as well as the dimensional information, and then from here I can go ahead and do my pack out with the items that are available to load into that box. So I'll send that to the existing package, and you can see that it's pulling the weight from the item card in SalesPad and increasing the weight accordingly. Once I have those items loaded in, we have our final weight there, and I can go ahead and finish the shipment. Now, when you're processing shipments, we have a couple different options for the rate that's actually charged to the customer. So you can either have the list rate right back to the order, or you can have the account rate right back, which is your negotiated account rate, which is typically better than list, assuming you've kind of negotiated a volume-based discount with your carrier. So you've got those two options to use. We can also do kind of a padded offset. So if you wanted to incorporate like shipping and handling as a percentage, or maybe you wanted a flat fee associated with the handling, you can do that as well, and that will roll into the actual price that's written back to the sales document that you would then charge to the customer. So you've got a couple options there. But as you can see, I didn't have UPS World Ship or anything turned on in the background. It's a true API integration direct to those carriers. And now I've generated my UPS label with my tracking number, and I'll go ahead and close out of this shipment. Now that shipment has been processed, ShipCenter is fully integrated with workflow as well. So when I refresh this, we should see the 11032 advance to the invoicing queue, because that's the way I have my workflow set up. So if I go down to invoicing now, we'll see 11032 has now advanced to the invoicing batch, and if I open that up, the tracking number has also been written back to the document header, as well as the tracking number tab. This is useful if you have multiple shipments with multiple tracking numbers. It will list them all. Now keep in mind, workflow can not only advance the documents, but it can, as I mentioned before, it can trigger automated notifications. So once I entered that order, if you wanted like a order confirmation email to go to the customer when you initially release it, you can do that. If you want a shipment notification with this tracking number embedded in that notification, you can do that as well. So notifications are all kind of a byproduct of that document progressing through each one of those stages. So quick time check. I think we've got just enough time for some questions if there are any. I know that was kind of a high-level view, but essentially what you saw here today was, customer lookup, the great tools we have on the customer card, entering a new order, pushing that through the workflow, picking that up in the WMS tool, the data collection tool, and then progressing that to the shipping platform to process that shipping and have the tracking number written back to it. So with that, Kim, did we want to take questions?
Yes. Over on the right-hand side, everybody, there's an area called questions. You can type in what you would like to ask Matt. Here's the first one. It is, with a notice arrangement, has card control been replaced?
Yes, we will continue to support card control. I forget the cutoff time frame on that, but we do have a way to kind of transition you. So if you are a card control user and you want to transition to the new platform, I would just recommend reaching out to your sales rep, and they can kind of walk you through that.
Okay, excellent. All right. I don't see any other questions in the queue. And again, this is a product that we're both using internally, but also have a lot of clients out using. And so if you would like to see a personalized demonstration, please reach out to your contacts here at InterDyn BMI. And if you don't know who that is, call me. And Kim Peterson, kim.peterson@interdynbmi.com. Matt, anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you. We really appreciate you letting us be a part of this, and we appreciate everybody attending today.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And again, I hope everyone takes a look at this. This month, we've had a lot of great sessions on helping you manage your inventory. Pretty darn important. Thank you. And thank you, Matt. Great job.